Hello friends, my name is Jake Montanez and this is my self-publishing blog. Today I wanted to talk about why I decided to write Night of the Illumination as well as the rest of the Lightblessed Saga as a dark fantasy. I chose dark fantasy because I wanted to explore what happens to good people as bad things start to happen to them and see what kind of ramifications that would have on how they approach their viewing of the world, how they interact with people as things go forward, as well as just write some really grisly, gross stuff. Now, I know that dark fantasy can often tend to be more like gothic horror in nature, and I'm not quite there with my story, so that may be a turnoff to some people. I'm not really sure how people perceive dark fantasy. Everybody's got their own little ways of perceiving that, but in my book, in actually the whole of the Lightblessed Saga, we start out with a very innocent, naive, somewhat almost childish, and that's intentional, main character who is Trinea, and her best friend, Daitan, who's also a little bit more independent, but still a little bit naive. And we thrust upon them a bunch of changes in their immediate environment that cause a lot of death and destruction in the people around them, and forces them completely out of their realm of comfortableness, and they're unable to cope with that in the ways that they used to, and it forces them to do things that they up to that point would never have considered doing. And it also forces them to look at their own upbringings in ways that they had not previously considered, and also decide that the things that they thought were part of their reality or their grown experience, and the things that they were taught were true, were not in fact what they thought they were. And that kind of mimics what happens in the real world, where you grow up as a child not knowing anything crazy about the world, and you find out all the horrible, horrific things that people are capable of. And I figured that fantasy would be the best place to couch a lot of those misconceptions that youth can have as they grow up and enter their own adulthood, and realize that things aren't quite as simple as you think they are, that things are more devastating than you thought they could be, and that both love and loss are parts of the human experience. And while most of my characters, at least at the beginning, are human, there are some fantasy characters in here and a lot of magic that makes it more of a fantasy story, that makes it a different setting from our reality, if that makes any sense. Unlike things like Lord of the Rings or any of the Shannara trilogy, things get a lot more grisly in my story. There are a lot of painful elements, a lot of brutality that exists in short snippets. I try not to overwhelm, but I know that at one point in my story, one of my readers called it torture porn, I guess, which I had never heard before, but it does get quite violent towards the middle act in the second book, where things are not going very well for either of the two characters that I'm following, and they are suffering both emotionally, mentally, physically. That's both. It's all of the things they're experiencing drives them into very dark places, and I wanted to see how that plays out in the things that they end up doing. How you take that very sweet, naive, innocent person and just distort the hell out of them and see what happens to them. So if that's your kind of thing, you might want to check out Night of the Illumination and the rest of the Lightblessed Saga. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.